I will pit my women against you in my team, and they will have more manliness that's required and more courage than most of these cowards that throw bombs. So I don't think a hand grenade demotivates us. I think it's, in fact, my kids and I were joking and saying that these guys could not even throw it properly.
Namaste everybody, welcome to Chitti Media. My name is Sharan Sethi, your host. Today we are joined by Savio Rodriguez-G, who is the editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicle, and Goa Chronicle has been doing a fantastic job, and time and again they have been targeted by extremists, and today is just another example. Savio-ji, namaste, good to have you with us.
Namaste, Sharan. Pleasure to be on the show.
Absolutely, sir. I would ideally ask you how you are and how the pandemic is, but clearly we have bigger problems to face, don't we?
Well, we certainly do, and these problems have always been a part of the Indian ecosystem for many years now. There are bigger problems than even the COVID is, and COVID is also as big a problem because it is a bioweapon. But here we're dealing with different sort of an enemy, and this enemy is somebody that has grown over a period of time because of a radicalized mindset, and they've been targeting the country not only in Jammu and Kashmir but other parts of India as well.
Right. So in brief, could you tell us what exactly happened, and is this the first time something like this has been that's happened to you? I'm sure you would have received more threats in the past as well.
Well, the Goa Chronicle has been receiving a lot of threats. Not only this time. This time, of course, was a hand grenade, a high intensity hand grenade that was thrown at the home of our journalist in Kashmir, and it was the first time it has happened. The family was targeted. The mother was targeted because she was the Sarpanch. And we believe that's what the Resistant Front actually claimed. Now, the Resistant Front that claimed credit for the attack is nothing but an offshoot of the Lashkar-e-Toiba. And they have been in Kashmir before. They've taken a new name, the Resistance Front, to appeal to the international audience that their fight is for legitimacy of the Kashmiri people in India, and to highlight the supposed high atrocities of the Indian army and the Indian government. So it's a whole cabal that's working against India's interests. And they're using, you see, when they were Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jamaat Islamiyah, all these names, they didn't get much international recognition because they were considered to be, they sounded to be terror in name. But the Resistance Front gives it this cleaner image that, we are here for a purpose. We're here. This is an activism, but they're not activism. They're clearly a terrorist organization. And on 9 p.m., 3 days ago, they threw a high-intensity grenade at the home of our journalist. They claim to have targeted the mother, who's a Sarpanch, which makes it even worse because she's an elected representative of the Indian government that's working for the upliftment of the people in her village in Baramulla. And I think it's a very cowardly act. But then I have always considered Islamic terrorists to be cowards. So I'm sure this is nothing unusual for them. This is something that they do, even in their sleep, to act like cowards and throw hand grenades and run away. So we're not worried. We've been getting threats for quite some time. Last year, we were receiving a lot of calls from Pakistan on my personal number. I had to change my number because my old number because of the calls that we were getting. We tracked down the calls to the Northwest Frontier in Pakistan, which is predominantly the drug belt and the terror hub. In fact, the place where the person called me from was the same place where the terrorists in the Taj attacks came from. So it's almost the same village, actually, to be more precise. So this gentleman called Fayaz Gul, we tracked him down, and we sent him a message, which is, now we've got eyes on you because now we know who you are. So we will take track you, we will trace you, and the rest will be taken care of by the concerned people who favor Goa Chronicles journalism within the country and want to keep us alive.
Right.
You see, the problem, what a lot of people are not understanding is our kind of journalism has always been very, very truthful in its approach. We're not trying to put anybody down. We're not trying to raise anybody up. We just want people to see the truth for what it is. So the truth is, Islamic terrorism is a reality. It's not something that we can hide away from. In fact, we will be doing our first show, the Goa Chronicles show, and the topic itself is on Islamic terrorism and how the world needs to open its eyes to this evil that is amongst us, because it's something that's very deviant. It's something that's driven by a sort of fanatic religious ideology, which
Right.
wants to instill itself with a lot of wants to enforce itself with a lot of fear amongst people. The classic example is what's happening in Afghanistan right now. You see, the Taliban itself is one of the highest perpetrators of terrorist attacks in the world. People are talking about legitimacy of Taliban. Are we joking?
Yes.
Are we going to let a terrorist organization go about ruling a government right now? Are foreign governments going to now deal with a terrorist organization that they themselves have claimed to be terrorist, in various different official documents of theirs? That itself is a joke.
Yes.
I mean, people are talking about, Taliban, bad Taliban. The only good Taliban is a dead Taliban, if I have to say it as crudely as possible, because they are not people who do deserve to live. They are inhuman. If many people have not spoken, and we've written about it, that in the first 6 months of Taliban's existence of 2021 is in Afghanistan, 2,948 casualties in the first 6 months, out of which, all of them are connected to Taliban. Taliban was responsible for 56% of the casualties and the deaths in Afghanistan in the first 6 months itself. And this was the period, post the talks with the US and Donald Trump of the troops withdrawing and Taliban, trying to soften itself to look into Afghanistan.
Yes.
If you're going to have 2,948 deaths, casualties, that were caused by Taliban, there is no moderation in this organization. You see, the organization is driven by a very deviant form of fanaticism, and they're going to make life for the women, life for the children, and life for people who don't follow their dictates going to be very terrible in Afghanistan. So this entire shenanigans around cleaning the image of Taliban is nothing but an eyewash to the truth. So
Yes.
Today we are going to accept Taliban. Tomorrow we'll have to accept ISIS. Day after tomorrow we should then accept the Lashkar-e-Toiba if they march into India. Are you telling me we are going to accept terrorists? That's the joke that the international community is made out of this entire issue. And the US, which is supposed to be the big brother of most nations around the world, is behaving like a big coward because they've created this mess for Afghanistan, and through the Taliban created a further mess in not only the region that we are in, but also the world, because Taliban is an ambitious group of people who are actually going to try and further take their madness of Islamic terrorism under the guise of Islamic nation around the rest of the world. They're just waiting for that opportunity, and you made them look like they are bigger than the largest democracy, one of the largest democracies in the world, a superpower. That's the United States of America. That's the problem. And for us as Goa Chronicle journalists, I don't care if you throw hand grenades or you bomb our places, you threaten us. One thing is certain, that any harm comes to the Goa Chronicle journalist team, then they can be rest assured, whichever source that harm is coming from, they are not going to exist anymore. If you notice that since the bomb, the hand grenade on our journalist's house, that subsequent afternoon itself, the top leader of the TRF was executed by the Indian security forces, two of them. Yesterday, 3 more TRF terrorists were executed by the Indian security forces. Right. The point I'm trying to make is, at the end of the day, we are not just journalists. We are soldiers in this information war, and we are also backed by soldiers that actually fight a physical war. And, yes. And that's the power of the Goa Chronicle journalism, because we've never taken sides and we've always spoken for the truth. And if you want to think that you can intimidate us, you're going to lose, because we're not going to stop.
Right. Absolutely, Savioji. I mean, we are there with you, and we are sure that we will continue to keep fighting radicalism and Islamic terrorism in every form possible. You know, that brings me to another question. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, an Afghan refugee. Right now, he's in Tajikistan. And he happens to be a Hazara. So when I visited Afghanistan, you know, he was telling me the entire story about how not just Hindus and Sikhs, but Muslims themselves have been a victim of Islamic radicalism. And that is what we are choosing to ignore. And he told me that, you know, despite whatever eye-washing Pakistan may attempt to do now and then, now, why was August 15th strategically chosen to legitimize the Taliban? It means that Pakistanis are trying to send across a message to the Indian counterparts. Now, in such a situation, and in a parallel where, you know, journalists are being thrown bombs at in our own territory, there are a few people within our own community, a few sympathizers, a few terror enablers who are sort of, you know, silently sympathizing with what the Taliban has to say. I mean, this is just very distressing, Savioji, isn't it?
You know, I don't think it's distressing. I'll tell you why. Because the country is known to have Jaychands before, you know, Mir Jafars before, where people who have betrayed the country because they want to either prove that they are better than the current dispensation that exists. They want to fault the current dispensation for their lack of control on certain aspects of governance. But what is that going to change about us as a journalist? I think it changes nothing. I don't care what other journalists think. You know, they can write in favor of the Taliban. They can you know, portray Taliban to be good, to be the beacon of humanity. Goa Chronicle is always going to say that Taliban is inhumane, because we know they are inhumane. We've seen it, we understand it, we track it, and we will put the truth out. So no matter what they say, no matter how much whitewashing they do, the fact is that it's not going to change the truth. Right. The problem with these people is that they don't understand that when you start pandering to Islamic terrorism, you would see that Islamic terrorism is such a vicious aspect of radicalism that the people that they hurt the most are not people from other religions. It is the Muslim community themselves that's most affected by Islamic terrorism and Islamic radicalism. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Look at every country that's been struck by Islamic terrorism, whether it's Syria, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Yemen. They are all victims of Islamic radicalism, all victims of Islamic terrorism, whether it's Nigeria with the Boko Haram out there. All of them, all and every single one of them, the biggest distress, the biggest discomfort is brought to the Muslim community because of these radical elements who do not want their own people to rise up. If you look at Dawood, for example, Dawood might seem to be a savior to certain sections of Mumbai and Bollywood, but when he actually threw the bomb and was part of the 1993 blast, and for various other activities that he does he think he's favoring the Muslims? He's not. He's in fact taking their lives. He's making lives for them very difficult, because post 9/11, if you remember, and this is the flip side to it, because an innocent Muslim then becomes a target of the stupidity and the radicalism of the terrorists. So post 9/11, what was the pain, the sufferings that the Muslim community had to go through in the US and world over? It's because of the Islamic radicalism, because of that terror. They lost an identity that they had. Not everyone in the Muslim community is a terrorist. So the Muslims, the community itself needs to open its mind to understand the devil that exists within that room. Because if they don't go about calling out Islamic terrorism for what it is, that Islamic terrorism, that demon in that room is going to possess them. And that's exactly what's happening in Islamic countries all over the world. There is absolutely no progress. There's absolutely no growth of the Muslim community in a civilized world. They're living in a time capsule that has stopped moving. That's the problem. And if the Muslims are not going to reform it, they're going to continue to live in that time capsule and not move and not progress. That is why people from Afghanistan, why would they be fleeing? If the people of Afghanistan believed in the Taliban and in their ideology of Islam, they should not have been leaving, right? Why are they leaving? They're leaving because they know that that's not progressive, that's not future, and that's not real as well for their family. That's the reason why they're leaving.
Absolutely. I mean, in this situation, there is still some resistance to what the government is trying to do positively, in the sense that people are still criticizing Article 370, they're still criticizing CAA and RC. And one can only watch and wonder what the minds of these few journalists think about all the time.
Well, when CAA was introduced, a lot of people created a ruckus saying that, how can you introduce CAA? It's not giving equal rights to the Muslims. We should scrap this. This is discriminatory in nature. Various other aspects, were spoken about. Now that the Afghan refugees are fleeing, they're saying the same thing. Please open up CAA. Let people come in, bring the Muslims also in, let's give them shelter. Prior to that, they have a problem. So people who are targeting the government, media, that write one day one aspect of one point of view, the next day another point of view, their hypocrisy is clearly exposed. They've always been hypocrites. They will continue to be hypocrites. We need to look at the larger picture. The larger picture is what is really happening in Afghanistan. The problem is that people are afraid of living in Afghanistan, and that's the truth. The atrocities of Taliban against the women and children and men who want to progress is also real. Now, can India have a sympathetic look at it? Of course it can. And if it can build itself an opportunity to provide for this community, whether it's Muslim, Sikh or other Hindus, they want to come back, why not give them that opportunity to come back and, rebuild their lives? Because there's no point in living in a hellhole, because that's what Afghanistan is. And as long as the Taliban is there, it will continue to remain to be a hellhole. The thing is, we need to understand is when these people are fleeing from Afghanistan, and it's happening all over the world, what is the Islamic nations doing? Have they opened the doors to the Afghans as generously as the Indian government done? Few have, but not all, because they know the kind of people that they will be bringing in, the probability of the danger of in the good people coming in, the bad people could also come in.
Yes.
So I think we need to be a little prudent. I'm saying we need to be generous. We have to look at the situation in an empathetic manner, but we also have to be cautious of getting people who are not really the good elements coming into India and disrupting the future, because that's what they're capable of.
No, we've already seen examples of that. I think a couple of incidents have come into light where they are praising the Taliban once the Indian government has rescued them. But I sincerely hope that the Indian government has a befitting response as well. And that brings me to my last question, Savioji. I know that you don't have a lot of time. Of course, you cannot comment on an ongoing investigation and share the details about it. But let me ask you this. Now, of course, it's not a small thing to get over a grenade attack on a journalist of yours. Now, will this stop you? Will this deter you from doing? Will you cease your operations in Kashmir, or is this?
No. No, absolutely not. I love these kind of things. The thing is, people have not understood the Goa Chronicle team. We are a bunch of mad men and women. You throwing bombs on us means further instigating us. We get a high on it.
Right.
You throw bombs, you threaten me. Yeah, I'll give you an incident. There was a call once when we were doing a story in Goa. And I got a call at 11:30 in the night once from somebody who was abusing me because I'd written something nasty against a politician. And he kept abusing me at 11:30 in the night. Now, 11:30 in the night is the time I really want to, tuck my kids into bed because they won't sleep until I tuck them. They were very young at that time. So I told the gentleman, I said, see, listen, you're sounding very funny on the phone at 11:30 in the night. And I understand you're abusing me from whatever you're saying, but can you do me a favor? Can you please either call me tomorrow morning at around 10 o'clock? You can continue to abuse me, or you come and visit me at about 10 o'clock and abuse me still. I'm okay with the abuses. But if you don't come at 10 o'clock, I will wait for you till afternoon. After that, I'll come for you. Right. And that's exactly what happened. He didn't turn up. And then, of course, the concerned people that I'm close to went after him.
Right.
So it's how you look at it. See, the problem is, what are we standing with? We're standing with the truth. And truth has a very powerful armor around people that speak the truth. And I think that's something that we have been continuously being experiencing, that whenever we stood by the truth, and no matter how powerful the other side is, we have been guided by the power of good and the power of truth. So no harm has come. I'll give you another example. I had some people connected to China about 2 or 3 months that wanted to meet up with me. And they said, they're starting something in media. They wanted my advice. I said, okay, come over to the office. And in 90% of that conversation, when they came over to the office, all they spoke about is me not writing about China, saying, China is not the culprit behind the bioweapon. So I said, okay, thank you. I understand what you're saying. Thank you so much. No, we can get your meeting done with people at Wuhan lab. We can show you the truth, this, that. I said, okay. If you can, set up the meetings, we'll go. Then they came around to saying that, this is all Modi's fault. Modi is tied up with various different people. They are experimenting on the Indians. The vaccines are a problem. This is a problem. I said, okay, I'm listening. Go on. And then after 2 hours, the last 5 minutes of those 2 hours, they tell me about a plan of opening up their media business. They came to meet with regards to the media business, right? But in the 2-hour conversation, it's only the last 5 minutes they talk about the media operations. And I said, I don't know how I can help you in something like this. So that's how they come at you. The Islamic radicals come in a more aggressive way. The Chinese come in a more business-oriented way, saying, in their colorful languages. We deal with all sorts of jokers, because to me, they are jokers. First, you need to understand who we are. You go into a little background onto who we are. We seem to be a little small entity out of Goa. That is why people think these guys are all about, fun, laughter. They do journalism, but it's Goa. They can be easily taken over, take them to the beach, give them a drink, everything will be all right. They forget that inside us are very strong revolutionary blood. The first war against any foreign power in India was 1583, which was known as the Kunkuli Revolt. Now I come from the adjacent village in Kunkoli, which is Veli.
Okay.
So Asolna, Veli, Kunkoli are known as notorious villages as far as fighting foreign power was concerned.
Mhm.
So do you even think you can intimidate a person like me? It's out of the question. My team is even equally mad as I am.
Right.
We don't have cowards. I will pit my women against you in my team, and they will have more manliness that's required and more courage than most of these cowards that throw bombs.
Right.
So I don't think a hand grenade demotivates us. I think it's, in fact, my kids and I were joking and saying that these guys could not even throw it properly. Yeah, that's how stupid they are. I mean, you throw it, it reaches in the compound, it doesn't even come into the house. So what they've not realized is that the shield of truth that's around the house ensure that the bomb does not come into the house. So that's what they don't understand. There's a power. There's a spiritual power that surrounds people that want to speak the truth. That's what I believe, at least.
Right. Absolutely. And we salute your spirit and your courage for that. And we can only hope and get inspired by the kind of journalism that all of you are doing. Savioji, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And,
Thank you.
India will salute you for the courage that you've displayed, because it's not just standing up for yourself, is it? You're standing up for a whole bunch of us, and we feel inspired by you.
Sharan, I'll tell you something. As a friend, India is far greater than a Savio or a Goa Chronicle or any one of us. The beauty of India is our ability to deal with problems in a very practical and in a very pragmatic manner. And more importantly, I understand the angst that even Islamic terrorists have. But the problem is that in our dharma, in our fight for the truth, if I have to take you out, then I'm only doing my job. That is what terrorists need to understand, that if I'm exposing the truth, I'm only being true to being a journalist. And that's my dharma. Now, if you and I have to cross paths, then that's karma, really. And I'm not going to back off. That's what a soldier does. He never backs off. You're an enemy of my nation. You're an enemy of my people. It's my job to take you on.
Absolutely.
That's how I see it.
100%. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've had a very, very busy day. Savioji, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and we hope and pray that all of you stay safe. We know that you're courageous, but our prayers are that you all stay safe. That's it.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
And to all our viewers watching this, please do like, share, and subscribe. We will be continuously updating you on what's happening around India. Thank you.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.